You can't handle the truth.
I told you, man. I told you. Don't fuck with me.
Presidents in the past have argued the case that my job is to make you safe. Truth is, it isn't the job of the president to make you safe. The Second Amendment is what's supposed to make you safe.
Mr. Guy.
This was the act we were going to pass within a couple of weeks, and it was passed because it had a nice name and it was going to make us all safer when we were supposed to give up some of our liberties. But I'm convinced that if bills were named more properly in Washington, they wouldn't pass so easily. But that bill should have been called Repeal the Fourth Amendment Act, and maybe it wouldn't have passed. Authority for the unwarranted searches and the invasion of our privacy and essentially eliminating so much of our privacy, but it is continuing. That process has continued since then. But even in the executive branch right now, we have gone way too far as protecting our civil liberties and the protection of the rights of all Americans. But to pick out one guy and pretend that you know absolutely that he's guilty of a vicious crime, that therefore we have to, prosecute him, and the president now claims he has the right to be the prosecutor, the judge, and the jury, and he says outright that he's allowed to assassinate American citizens. That should not stand. Today, at the beginning of this year, the President signed the bill, the National Defense Authorization Act. Repealed the Posse Comitatus Act, saying the military can arrest American citizens, arrest them and put them in prisons, and held indefinitely, and denied a trial, and denied even talking to an attorney. Senators on the Senate floor have said that in a braggadocious way by saying, and if they come and ask for an attorney, tell them they don't get one. That is serious, and we can't let this stuff stand, or there will be no liberty in this country. As that all seems and sounds, obviously it is, I'm rather encouraged, because there hasn't been, since in the last 6 months I've been talking about this, and there hasn't been an audience that haven't responded because they understood what I'm talking about and didn't like what was happening, and that means I know that you who knew about that particular bill and what's happening, you didn't get it on the evening news, I'm sure of that. Since every crowd has responded in a very favorable manner, and a lot of people know about it, that people are waking up, and the message should be heard loud and clear. And a lot of times people will get discouraged. How are we ever going to change Congress? It's difficult. We've been trying, you, me, I've been up there for a long time. How many bills have you passed? Well, I'd hate to be measured by the number of bills I pass if I had to pass some of the bills that I can't stand even voting for. So, what we need obviously is a lot less of these bills and more and a lot less of an intrusion into our civil liberties. But the military tribunals, are a real detriment. It actually takes a citizen out and puts it into a military tribunal. Now this last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of talk about the Supreme Court. Will the Supreme Court uphold the Obamacare? And who knows? My prediction is it'll be a mushy type of recording, because quite honestly and technically, the whole bill ought to be thrown out, not just the amendment. But when you think about the comments and the derision of the president because he was talking about the Supreme Court, trying to influence the Supreme Court, and he had a lot of criticism directed in his direction, and that's understandable. But to me, that's rather minor compared to him taking over the judicial system and arresting people and saying that he can put people in prison, you know, for life without an attorney. When they accept these things, that to me is a much more vicious violation than the president making some comments. And it isn't like it was the first time. I'm sure all of you remember FDR, you know, when he wanted to pack the courts. So that's been around for a long time. But what we need is the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch reading the Constitution and obeying it. There was a bill passed, it was called the Defense Production Act, and it literally legalized emergency powers to the president in time of war to take over all industry. If you read it, it's terrifying. But fortunately, it hasn't been used piecemeal. It has been on occasion, but it hasn't really been used to take over the entire economy. But this last month, instead of the Congress renewing it, the president did it with an executive order. And it wasn't just renewing it. What he did was he changed a few things. Instead of emergency powers during wartime, he changed it to emergency powers anytime, even in peacetime. So why in the world would he be doing this? I thought we were supposed to be the government, and the Congress is supposed to be the government. Why are we allowing our presidents and the executive branch to do so much? And this is to me why we are approaching a crisis, but we can change things. Two examples that I can use that, in spite of the the difficulty and maybe some pessimism about what can be done. I'm sure a lot of you know about Stop Online Piracy Act, right? That was the bill that would have attacked the internet, control the internet. I mean, they have everything else, and the internet's still pretty free, so the government wants to take over. So they had the votes in the House and the Senate. And then there was an organized effort by the people to let their congressmen don't vote for this, and they removed it. We had the Audit the Fed bill up, and we had all Republicans support it. We passed it in the House of Representatives. The final version was watered down. We had a partial audit, but the fact that it passed the House was a response not by me twisting arms, because I don't have political or legislative clout in Washington. But people who knew about it got hold of their congressmen and legitimately twisted their arms to say, vote for the audit of the Federal Reserve. So, the real message here is government is a reflection of the people. If we're complacent and we're just quite willing to give up our freedoms in an incremental way, then it's going to continue that way. But when people get fed up and send a message, the politicians in Washington, sometimes they don't have a whole lot of strong beliefs. I don't know if you ever recognize that or not. But they do want to stay in office. So if you can't get them out of office and think they should be out of office, put the pressure on where they think they could lose, and they will come your way in order to change their viewpoints. And this is, I think, what's going to happen. I think the country is waking up. It is so different. The politicians I know and the other candidates, I think they're well-intentioned, but I don't think they're hearing the people. People in Washington, I don't think they hear the people. If they did, they'd cut spending a little bit, and they would quit running up these deficits. The American people right now, 80% of the American people said, you know, you've had your chance, you've been in Afghanistan for 10 years, it's time to come home from Afghanistan. Generally, the candidates have just pushed area we have to go into Iran, and on and on. But